Sometimes you just need a really good basic project in your repertoire. And that is what I'm going to show you guys how to do today. This is a herringbone rope. I have done videos on herringbone rope before. The bead choice that you make can make such an interesting difference in your project. And in the past, when I have done a herringbone rope before, we've just used seed beads. Of course, right? I'm the seed bead lady. But you're familiar with the sharp edge triangle beads? Well, when you use those sharp edge triangle beads in this herringbone rope, what you get is something that looks completely different. It's the bracelet that I have on here. It's a very slinky, sexy, soft, supple rope that you get, and people are not even going to be able to tell right off the bat what the stitch is. It's just the way the beads sit make it look really, really different and unique. And so, for instance, this to me looks like metal. I used the permanent galvanized Toho triangles on this, and it looks like a silver bracelet. People call this look in sterling silver or fine silver, it's called a snakeskin kind of chain. I don't use that S word. I hate those S's. So that's why I won't call it that. We'll just call it supple and slinky instead of that S-N-A-K-E thing. But that's what it looks like. So one of the reasons that I like this project so much is because it looks gorgeous on its own, but it's also a really good thing for you to have on hand just as a rope for pendants that you have, because it doesn't, it's interesting, it's soft, it's supple, but it doesn't take away from your pendant either. So they're interesting in and of itself. So you could put any kind of pendant on this. In this case, this particular piece is called my Wild Heart necklace. This is a kit that I have on JillWisemanDesigns.com, and it tells you how to do the rope. It also tells you how to do the beautiful tassel, and you can wear the pieces separately. So this is the cranberry version of it, and then this one I made even longer. This is the green version, and so this is the length that you can make in the kit. And like I said, it's kind of like getting two pieces in one, because you can wear the chain by itself or you can wear it with the pendant. And you can wear any kind of pendant on this chain. And that is why I thought you guys needed to see how these triangles work up in this rope. So that's what we're going to do here. Let me put these off to the side. Let's come in closer. I want to kind of show you these triangles. These triangle beads here they've got sharp edges. So there are two kinds of triangles out there. Toho only makes the sharp edge triangles as far as I know. Miyuki makes the sharp edge triangles that are very similar to this, but they also make a soft rounded triangle that looks completely different, and it will not work in this project nearly the nice way the sharp edge ones are. So when you buy triangles, you do want to make sure that you're buying those sharp edge ones. And you can go with something real subtle, like this is the hematite color, which looks gorgeous. Here's a close-up look of the silver that I had. And then this is a custom coated kind of thing, not custom coat, but it's a specialty coat where they've brought in that beautiful copper with the turquoise. Like I said, we've got the permanent galvanized silver, the permanent galvanized gold. This is one of my very favorite colors. It's called a higher metallic purple iris, higher metallic, ooh, dragonfly. I love that name. This will make an absolutely incredible rope out of those right there. So I've got about 40, maybe even more colors of these triangle beads, so that you can have a whole wardrobe of these ropes to go with all the pendants that you make. Okay, so let's show you how to work with these triangles, because what you're doing is basically not any different than a regular herringbone rope that you would start out with. So I am going to start out with ladder stitch the way I always do. So I'm picking up 4 because I like my ladder stitch to be 2 beads high. You can do ladder stitch with just a single bead high. It just doesn't give you very much to hold on to, so that's why I like doing it 2 beads high better. I'm going to go over this a little on the quick side because I do have a whole separate video where I step this out step by step. I will pop a link up. If you can see that little eye up in the corner, if you don't see the eye, if you cover your mouse over the video, the eye will show, and that's where the link will be, okay? So I've put these side by side. I need to get to the outside edge to add 2 more. What I'm doing is I'm making a row that is going to be 2 beads high by, let's see, I want this to be 3 stitches, so 6 beads long. One thing to watch out for when you're working with these triangles is there's something about the way the triangle is made that it makes the edge cuts a little funky sometimes. Let me find a goofed up one. You have to be careful and watch about culling them. Okay, so this is one. So you can kind of see there that on this edge right here, that it's not straight. So on this side, it's more on that side here. Here you can kind of see where it's not straight right there. In this case, I might cull it out, I might not. I'm going to err on the side of culling it out, but sometimes you'll find them that are really bad. The other thing that you'll find occasionally is that you'll find one that's particularly small. Now, of course, I poured this set out, and as I'm trying to look for the problem children, I'm not finding problem children. This one's a problem child. Look at that one. So you've got that little tiny spot right there. It's thick on one side, but it's little tiny on the other side. So we want to cull those out and not use those in your project. So you do want to kind of keep an eye on them. Here's another bad one, where it's significantly skinnier on one side than it is on the other side. So that what's going to happen is it's just going to look a little odd if you use those. The other thing is, here's a good example. Look how much wider this one is than, oops, that other one that I had. So that's not a good pairing to put together, because what's going to happen is, as I'm doing herringbone stitch, one side of the stitch is going to be higher than the other. So I try to, as I go along, I visually kind of try to match up the sizes for an entire row. So in this case, it's not that this one's bad, it's just that I would want an entire row of ones that are a little bit shorter. On this one, I would want an entire row of ones that were a little bit bigger, so that the height matches up. So I'm just going to put those guys back off to the side. So here we're 4 wide. This is number 5 wide. Notice that I'm not carrying how these triangles sit as I do this. And the reason is because when we turn that into a circle, it is going to automatically turn them all inward and give us this beautiful rope. So here I am, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets, 2 high. So I'm ready to fold this like a taco and connect these 2 ends together. So we're going up and down, and I like to work opposite my tail, so I'm going to go back up. Okay, so now this is a tube, and it kind of looks like 2 layers, 3 here, 3 here. What I'm going to do here, just roll it a little bit with my fingers, and then look. Now we have something that's more tubular, and as you add rows to it, it'll get even more tubular. So here's how we're going to do our herringbone stitch. We're picking up 2, passing down through the next triangle, up through the next. Okay, pick up 2. Again, I'm going through this part a little bit fast because I do have a whole separate video where I take you through it a little bit slower, and I will pop a link up for that in case you want to look at that version. Here I am with the last stitch of this row. Each row is going to have 3 stitches since we're picking up beads 2 at a time. I'm going down 1. And sometimes you kind of have to encourage the triangle to sit with your finger, you know, to sit just fine. And then because this is the last set of the row, look, my thread is coming out down here, so I need to go up 2 on this last one. That's your step up. What happens if you continue just going down one, up one like you do on the other stitches, what's going to happen is you're going to get a spiral. That's what creates a spiral in herringbone. So that's when you don't do the spiral, is when you have the step up. So picking up 2, okay, on each stitch, kind of trying to match a little bit the width of each bead. I don't get real anal retentive about it, just a little bit. So this is my last stitch of this row, and I'm going down 1, and instead of going up 1, because it's the last stitch, I've got that step up, so I have to go up 2. One way to know that you're at the step up part is if your columns here are all at the same height. That means you've got to do the step up. There we go. So you're just going to keep continuing on until you get the length that you desire. And in this particular case, this is what it looks like as you keep going. So work on your length. Your clasp, depending on what kind of clasp you use, can add between 1/2 inch to about 1 inch usually. On my ropes here, where I did this with the kit, I did a beaded toggle closure, which I'm going to show you how to do here in the video. And this adds about 3/4 of an inch to the length. So get your length finished and we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish it up. So now you've got the length that you want. Problem is, you've got those 3 columns hanging out in the wind, right? So we need to bring those back together for a nice ending on that. So I'm going to show you how to do that, how to create the toggle, and then how to create the loop around the toggle. So let's take a closer look here at the beads. So here's my Barbie bracelet. You know how much Barbie loves her bracelets. And this is what I was talking about. We've got these 3 columns here, and they're not attached on the end. So when we started, we did ladder stitch. And so we're just going to ladder stitch the top 2 beads on each of these columns to each other. So all I'm going to do here is, I'm not adding any beads as I do this. I'm going to go down 2 beads. And I'm going to circle back around these 2 sets of beads, because what's going to happen is it's going to take a little bit of the herringbone V out and make them look more straight up and down, kind of the way it does here on the end. So you'll notice here it's more of a solid block. There's like a line of 2 beads here. It's kind of a solid block, and then you get into the herringbone V shape. We're simulating that here on this end, and that's why we're going to go around those 2 sets to kind of straighten them up like little soldiers. Then we're going to now connect between this set over here and these guys. And so in this case, we're both connecting and straightening. And so you're literally just circling around these and then getting back over here. And now we'll move forward and connect and straighten these guys. So they're already connected. We're just straightening these sets. So it's just a lot of passing your thread through, tightening it up, and then here's a set that's not connected at the top, so we're going to connect and straighten. So it's going up 2, down 2, and up 2. Now the next set. So you just do that all the way around until they are all connected, at which point you're ready for a clasp. So let's talk about your clasp. In this particular bracelet, what I did here is, for the toggle bar, this is a peyote tube toggle, and I used the triangles. So I did absolutely nothing different than my usual peyote tube toggle. So what you want to do is, if you need instructions on how to do the peyote tube toggle, I will pop a link up. It'll be on that little eye over there. Probably the only thing that I did different is this was when I picked up the first set of beads here, I did it 8 across, so I picked up 8 beads instead of my usual 10. And the reason is because the triangles are a little wider than your average seed bead, so that made a big enough toggle. If I'd made it 10, it would have brought it out another 2 beads out here, and it just would have been out a little, the scale would have been a little bit too big for the diameter of rope. So 8 beads wide by 10 rows, and then I zipped it up like a taco. And what I did have to do when I went to go zip it like a taco is I did have to roll it in my fingers to get the triangles to sit the way I wanted them to. So it was really stiff at first when I tried to bring it into that taco position. Don't let that freak you out. You can manipulate it and force it, and the beads will sit the way you want them to, that way. And then to create the, let me grab my handy dandy pointer over here. I used it earlier and put it away. There we go. When I go to connect it, here on the end of your tube, you have got 6 beads around here. So what you want to do is connect out of beads that are directly opposite each other. And that way your toggle will be centered across here. So I came out 1 bead, I picked up 3 triangles, I went through 2 beads on the diagonal in this peyote tube, yeah, it is peyote tube triangle toggle, and then picked up a single bead, passed back through the middle bead that I picked up in this set so that that is now shared, picked up 1 more, so it creates this X effect, and then passed down through the bead on the end here that was directly opposite the one that I originally came out of. Here's the reason why I did this, and I do get this question, why do I create that X as opposed to maybe just doing straight up here and straight up here? The reason is when your loop comes over, giving it a waist right there gives a place for your loop to kind of catch. It makes a slightly more secure toggle because notice how that loop is going right to that skinniest part there around that waist. And so it's just less likely to come undone if you use that X effect. So that's why I do that. You always want to attach your toggle bar first so that you can make your loop to fit the size of your bar, okay? So on the loop end here, I did the exact same thing where I created this X effect, but only the bottom half of the X, because coming out of the top of the X is this loop. So here's what I did. And yep, I'm going to show you on this other project because it's a little bit easier to see. In this case, I had used seed beads in the tassel part, so I used a combination of triangles and seed beads in the loop. Here I used all triangles, so you can do it either way, okay? But here I did 2 seed beads. Here I just did a single triangle and then a triangle for the crossover, the middle of that X, or the waist is what I was calling it. First pass, I alternated a seed bead and a triangle all the way around. Here I just did an entire loop of triangles. I believe I used 18 triangles before, yep, I picked up 18 total, and then passed back through the second from the beginning for that waist part, okay? And then pick up 1 more triangle and you attach it by going in the opposite side of the rope from where you came out. So that was the first pass. Remember that I always want you to reinforce these clasp areas. So I worked my way back over to this beginning. I came back up, and on the second pass, I went past the waist by 1 bead, and then I picked up a triangle, and then so basically you're doing peyote stitch around the loop with the triangles. So I picked up 1, I skipped 1 for it to sit on top of, and then I skipped 1, and then I passed through the next bead, and then blah, blah, blah. Okay, how about we start that over again so it makes sense. Coming out of the waist, I went through a single bead, picked up a bead, skipped 1 for it to sit on top of, passed through the next bead. Pick up 1, skip 1 for it to sit on top of, pass through the next bead. It's literally just peyote. And what happens is those two triangles stack really nicely on top of each other, and it just makes a really pretty look. And it looks pretty whether you've got a seed bead in between them or whether you've got more triangles in between them. So it works either way. And then on my last pass of reinforcement, I went ahead and you just pick one side or the other to go through of the two triangles that are stacked on top of each other. And one of the benefits of doing that peyote stitch around the loop, instead of just doing a plain loop, is that it closes it up a little bit on the inside, and so it hugs the bar a little bit better. And again, it just makes it slightly more secure to do that way. So that is my basic Slinky Herringbone Sexy Triangle bracelet. Now, there will be a free PDF download of the written instructions with diagrams and that kind of thing on my website at jillwisemandesigns.com. Remember that eye up in the corner? Oop, wait, I'm over there. Oh, it is over here. That eye up there, there will be a link to take you to that free PDF download. And that way you can have written instructions and diagrams as well as the video to follow. So I got you covered either way. Triangles are available for sale at my website at jillwisemandesigns.com. Like I said, I've got like 40 colors. You're going to have a hard time deciding. And then if you have fallen in love with the tassel kit, we've got those for you too. I hope that you enjoy making this rope and wearing it as much as I do. You're going to see me wearing this in more videos in the future because I really, really like it. Happy beading!